Helo, agus fáilte dibh ula don teisian seo mar fáirte dhéis úsachaí na Halapa. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this session and delighted to welcome partners and Scottish Government colleagues as contributors and indeed leaders of this session. The session will be delivered in two parts. Part one will discuss the role of adults to support learning in GME with a focus particularly on early years, and our colleagues from Bòrd Gaelic will take us through this session. Part two will focus on assessment and specifically na Mesian Cochtchen Náisiúnta ar son Fálam Tron Gaelic, also known as MCNG. Just before we begin, I want to bring your attention to the protocols slide there, and we would appreciate if you could keep mics and cameras off unless you are making a contribution. It helps with the smooth running of the session. Mór an taing. Gléamhaithe, Haimianis Adolgu Joan agus Mari bó Bòrd Gaelic ar son ar tort tron a hiad fárt. Mór an taing.
Thank Maeve. Is mis Joanne McHale agus ha mi goper an skippe an ulum ag Bòrd Gaelic agus colrum dú ha mo hloprige Mari Niki Levore a hakkejoch an skippe an ulum. So next slide. Dúlik mé sin. Hanile tashman go coolest at mar.
Okay. Yik.
Ja.
Sin okay?
Sinne, yep, thank. So Cuma mi orm trefí na Berla, dyrach rekels na hill Gaelic Gàidhlig in has a session ha seo. So as most people will be aware, it's been a commitment. One of Bòrd Gaelic's key priorities is the supporting the expansion of Gaelic medium education across Scotland. I guess with this, Bòrd Gaelic, alongside other organisations, are also committed to supporting the training and recruitment of practitioners at all levels within Gaelic education. Some of you may be aware that last year we launched the Gàidhlig campaign, which focused on the promotion of Gaelic teaching as a rewarding career, and this year we've opted to focus on the early years. Next slide, please. So, as with English medium education, Gaelic medium early years is made up of two key sectors. Voluntary provision that supports the under threes and their families, and also funded early learning and childcare. And the earlier sector is integral, increasing both the numbers in Gaelic medium education, but also Gaelic speakers in general. For many young people and their families, the early years is their first step to fluency in Gaelic. However, the sector is also key to those who are Gaelic is spoken within the home as well. Next slide, please. You'll all be aware of the introduction of 1140 hours of funded early learning and childcare, and this has been an extremely welcome addition to Gaelic medium education. So this enables more children to have a greater exposure to Gaelic, which supports, again, both those who don't have Gaelic within the home and those who do. However, with this expansion, we do realise that the recruitment of qualified practitioners to support the expanding sector has presented challenges to local authorities, which is where the Gàidhlig campaign was born. And I'll now pass on to Mari to talk us through more about the campaign.
You can move on to the next slide, Maeve, please. So this just is a background of how many sort of professionals and practitioners are in the sector at the moment, or from 2021. We are awaiting the latest figures on that, but we've seen a growth of Gaelic early year practitioners in the last few years, and with the next number of months where there's going to be some consultation on 2-year-olds and the early years, then we'll see, I think, growth in this very valuable sector. So the GNGIFR campaign, next slide, please, Maeve. No, move back a couple of slides. So the next one. No, forward. And forward again. Nope. It's wanting to take me to the video for some reason. But what I'll do is I'll just tell you about the GNGIFR campaign, and then we'll look at the video shortly. So the GNGIFR campaign has been developed in order to support local authorities in the promotion of Gaelic careers in the early years. And what we decided to do was to record some videos of Gaelic early years practitioners in their settings, and also to provide some case studies as well. So in the video there's 5 practitioners, but we also will have, when we launch in early October, we'll have 5 case studies. So it's a range of practitioners working in the early years sector. So we have a Gaelic speaking childminder running a business in Edinburgh. We have a manager running a service in Highland, which is run by a committee, which is unusual, like a partner provider. And we have practitioners, early years practitioners from Highland Council in Portree, and in East Dunbartonshire we have 2 practitioners working in the case studies on that side. And then we also have the childminder is based in Edinburgh, but there is also a new post there. So we've included that post because Bòrd Gaelic has funded it. So just to show that there is a breadth of entry points into the Gaelic early years sector, so that people can move on and in and out of that at different stages. And that post is based within the local authority, and it's funded through the Gàidhlig project, and there is a similar one in Glasgow. And that work is really to encourage parents by supporting them and their children, because many of the children coming into Gaelic Medium Education today will not have Gaelic as their first language at home. So we're seeing an increase of these kind of numbers. And there's also practitioners from Auckland and Glasgow. So it's a new service in Glasgow provided by the private sector, and we have the 2 videos of the 2 workers there. So it's just a mix of different people, so that you can view a video or you can download a case study. So we feel that that would be the best way forward. So the key messages that have been coming out across the whole sector is that, you know, it is a varied and different role. Obviously all the 10 participants have got different learning journeys and different entry points, and that's been, I think, the difference in it is just so apparent when you look at the videos. So a feeling of pride when hearing children speaking Gaelic for the first time. So these children will be coming in, possibly will have attended Gaelic 0 to 3 groups, but then have moved on to the 1140 hours, and so their Gaelic will be coming on. And a lot of practitioners said that it was really positive to hear the children speaking for the first time. And it's also for many an opportunity to make a difference in Gaelic for a change. So some of them may not have considered that as a career, but because they came through Gaelic Medium Education, they maybe then decided to look at what opportunities existed there. And in terms of Hannah, who's the Gaelic childminder, she was wanting to look at the opportunities for herself in Edinburgh for looking after her own children and offering the childminding facility for other Gaelic speaking parents. So that's been very positive for her. And the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the young children and families. And just that focus on Gaelic has been very strong in the sort of initiatives and the feelings that have been coming out from the sector. And already we've been kind of trying to promote this across Scotland with Angela MacLeod, teacher recruitment officer, has also been sharing information and signposting people to services. And we have the foundation apprenticeships where young people can go in at 16 to 18 and have courses, etc., to do supporting sort of early years and trying to find out if that's the kind of career that they've wanted. So that's been very positive, I think, and we're seeing a lot of interest in not just the early years, but maybe even thinking about teaching as well. So that's been really positive. So we also plan to put the resources on the Scottish childcare website, childcare careers website. SCMA obviously is just now running a campaign to encourage people to come into childminding. So Hannah's case would be a good one for them to promote. And we work with Skills Development Scotland, and we've been negotiating with the Scottish Government and the early years team to see if we can get the resources on the SSSC website, because there is a lack of Gaelic sort of case studies. So that will be a positive move forward. So I'm not going to hold you back here. It is a Gaelic video, so if you aren't able to understand it, I apologize, but there will be English subtitles on the video in time, but you'll get the gist of it. So there's just the 5 participants doing the video. So thank you, Maeve.
Chanins go dingis bí a bheith smúneach in open ein am scoláirich stíalarih. Es misise Daniel Gorstan ha mi gopen an the Búnscoil Gaelic Forstry as a scoláirich. Han scoláirich acinne an the Búnscoil Gaelic Forstry go matrang. Sé áte 4 bhahan son bhí gopen an agus bhí clúig choir se chlán. Ha sin go ma fasc mar skifa ag sa stalum sin, is stalum go per choirí inivich eile ha I géirí Gaelic an rosnach ag cúteach.
Misise Catherine Ceol agus ha mé gopur ag Búnscoil Forstry an san scoláirich. Ha mé cínsceirt tóir a gopur an san scoláirich agus ag gach lá étar Gaelicse. An na duine óg leis bhil sin a gopur, Lans Boris agus Gaelia. Ha atsin mar a ha mi héin go me mésal ar Jalaban a haring, agus ha it land deach géint nach bích ag duine san bí éile.
Yn ryd as mwyr sé, gyda mi ffeicin, gyda mi Eugenia Jeffer môr o Gaelic le fi agopyn os na blian yn dracha. Sbeth Sean Mach Gomish, agos sé niach clachgi hwyr am glonia hanam nio teacher scolarich agos am agopyn awn yn scolarich fel e gofyn awn yn Glasgow. Chanins gyfeilir mofehys y aharachog agos gyfeil gach la na gwlen am yn doi dda agos y tocol ma fesnioch agos gyfeil mi ferach yn gyfeil coirs nach gacam chimi gilor am nach ro ac am ron y sio volyn dogyns yn bia. Hwc mi yr o biarn awn y hwyf sy'ch un fer am ffyd clawn Gaelic nos gynnadr agos sawn ron y sien y hanig ni yn y hir yn tracha. Y hwle ffach o lŵr y hanes pasture hau ferach yn gyfeilu y cwrlis y coirs nach sio. Gàidhlig sin a thula cael gása, bháil an dogan is an bia.
An san opera seo chaneal dá lá colach na chéile. Is mi sé éilí nicht go léasa agus ha mi a gopur mar neach cuideachí chuirim chlanne na trábhlíonige. Ha tars tukul bórga a bhí feich gin Gaelic a chlán a fás go lá go lá. Ha mi feich gin an misneach ag na chlán a fás a hula lá. Is a mis miniich ma ha uiacat dan sa Gaelic gyda jo gríach go hamgiúd. Nid a háisich mi a dríach seo churá jólas acam le bhí gopur colarí clán étar tríos cua. Ach nid a ha gopur a seo han jólas sin na tían agus ha féin teich cuideach. Ma ha uiacat sa Gaelic agus ha cartarút a bhí a gopur de clán oike bhálainn an dríach seo go mór.
How clúic is a chlam, fat a lá. How brún agus aus feicin a chlam mar sin tóiseach dis a chanan agus agus hat ddíadach míorbhalach mar a hat a tóca le gana. Is mis sem marí faran, ha mis gopad an scóládaí Kilvarnach, scóládaí na Cullianhain. Ha mi a bhí am son siaplianna agus hat deach a córtad am gomáin. Hat deachad béarla imsachach. Agus aus a canta dhewa halanist agus canan é lac a bhanist. Ha sin ddíadach a ddíadach míorbhalach. Sé a chlam a dúirt mis stoi ó thulamata. Géadaí son sin stoi seo chané leitadh. Sé a rúta séar a ring mise. Mar a bh rá ha mis géadaí ó thulamata agus chanéil gra neacham sa bhla stoi. Ha a mis coit a rúirt a chlam maithcin, ha mi coit a rúirt fiechtí sin a dó dúmsacha, ha mi coit a rúirt Gaelic a sin a dóchud a stoi a chluisteachcha a lásin. Agus sin rúta a mis géadaí son ó thulamata, agus ha mis genotí fa leis a chlám.
So thank you, Maeve, for the video there. I think as well the role of these adults is really crucial in terms of the language development that the children are getting. So we're looking at high quality ELC settings and the experience for these children. And I think encouraging the parents to learn Gaelic alongside their children. So we're encouraging the parents to go to classes. We're also looking at some of there have been difficulties in recruiting people with good language skills. So we're trying to encourage through Bòrd na Gaelic's Tavertason for them. We're encouraging people to look at courses to develop and strengthen their own confidence and Gaelic language skills in order that they can support the children in their own learning. So I think Sean's bit about, it's a community, and I think that's what it is for these parents who have chosen Gaelic Medium Education. Many of them have been with these children from the parent and toddler 0 to 3 and have carried on. So these links and strong sort of parental support and friendships have been created maybe for a number of years. So we're trying to look at supporting the practitioners and the parents together in that. So I think that, that's been very beneficial. The other thing I'd like to say is that there are a number of groups across Highland and Perthshire where there are daily sessions for children to 2 to 3-year-olds where they can have play sessions and where their Gaelic is really improved, and they're doing that through play. So that's been a very positive development in Highland, and we're seeing that the children then move on to Gaelic Medium Education. But it also means that the practitioners that are working in that role are becoming very skilled, and when there are vacancies in the local authority, then these practitioners move on. And what we found in Fort William and in Skye is that there have been people to come in after them, and if their language skills aren't as strong, then we encourage them to do as much as they can so that their language is improved to support the children. So I think that's the end of our very kind of quick presentation. The launch of the website will happen the early October, where we'll see the case studies and the videos with subtitles in English in that, and transcripts from all of that. So that will be available for local authorities to use to promote across the sector. So thank you very much for listening to us today.
More and thank Maddie, agus Joanne. We have a few minutes, and I'm just going to open it up to the floor for any questions anybody might have around early years and the role of adults. Some very inspiring footage there on the video. No. Okay, Maha, Gleva. Oh yes, Maddie, isteach.
Okay, could my camera air. Thank Marius, John, or something. Do you if I have a video for that harder gemor, is more nog in she hagamatanning goch, agus heis akin the dust as a hula diak, and is more nog in had that of dinge a haring the stay. Gaidhlig in Gaelic. Bí chom beacha figure daine ógus na scoiltin, bí chom aci a video ha seo a chealtain as na scoiltin. Gas scolaran can ní san 3 bliana na darna bliana sa scóil hí sa darna bliana san ard scóil. Búna sin.
Yeah, a mi cretchen gusáirte tron an operic Angela bí seorí riain as na hartscoiltin ach cuideach go bharach go sin bí fáiltear scoiltin seo na garasan seo iad héanachlach a cuideach, so ha sin an dú scoileach fatas farsing go bhfuil i léit ann, go bhfuil éad, suirí chlachcaich ach ní sin ar ddíchail a bhí sta an na scoiltin cuideach go bhí déna cinteach go bhfuil oicrí feicin i léit.
Thank you, Maggie.
More and thank Gleva Maha. Glóising Idhurst Maha. We're now going to move on to the second part, and we're going to have a look at assessment, and as I mentioned earlier, in particular, the Messian Cortican Náisiúnta ar Son Fálam Tána Gaelic, or the MCNG. I'd like to introduce Leona Chaco, our Scottish Government colleague, who will take us through this part of the session, and I will try and hopefully move the presentation on. Leona, might take a couple of minutes to switch between screens.
That's okay. Thank you very much, Maeve. If we could just move forward to the first slide, please. So as Maeve has said, my name is Leona Chaco, and I am the National Standardised Assessments for Scotland product owner, and I work as part of the National Improvement Framework team. So during this session, I'm going to share with you an understanding of how the Phase 2 MCNG has been developed to provide a high quality diagnostic tool to support practitioners to understand and consider children and young people's progress in literacy and numeracy within Gaelic Medium Education. I'm also going to introduce you to some new and enhanced features of the MCNG, and to provide detail about how the Phase 2 assessment platform has taken on board and responded to feedback from practitioners within the GME community. I'm also going to introduce you to new features of the MCNG that will support your children and young people to get the most out of the assessments. I'll provide some detail about the bespoke training and support that will be available for GME practitioners, and I'll discuss how you can become involved in our journey of continuous improvement and help ensure best use of the MCNG for future years. Could I have the next slide, please, Maeve? So the development of Phase 2 of the MCNG. Now, the National Standardised Assessments for Scotland combined platform will house both the SNSC and its Gaelic counterpart, the MCNG, as two distinct assessment sets. The two assessment sets will share a core set of features and functionality, which includes a shared approach to assessment construct and standardisation. Support services will be accessed through a single service desk, and users of both the SNSC and the MCNG will only have to become familiar with the one platform. Bespoke content for the MCNG assessment has been and will continue to be created to ensure the needs, priorities and learning pathways particular to the GME sector are appropriately reflected. The development of the Gaelic assessment content has been brought in-house to the Scottish Government to build capacity and to maximise value. And a Gaelic Medium Assessment Content Manager has been appointed within the National Improvement Framework Unit. Bringing the development of MCNG content in-house enables us to support and build capacity, as well as strengthen the shared understanding of consistent national standards with Gaelic Medium Education, which will over time be of benefit to the whole sector. While there is a wide range of assessment tools and resources available in the English medium, including professional experience and developed expertise in standardised assessments, we know that such resources and developed professional experience in the Gaelic medium are comparatively scarce, and we're hoping that the MCNG will play a part in bridging that gap. Now, by involving GME practitioners in content creation for the MCNG, and including senior GME representatives from schools, from local authorities, and further in higher education in the Education's Volunteered Quality Assurance Panel, we are ensuring that the co-production element of the MCNGs, which is so critical to its success so far, can continue. So our content creators have come from all across Scotland, and their experiences reflect a range of backgrounds and sectors, which adds a breadth and depth to content creation. And we're continually looking to bring on board and capture the expertise of the sector, and opportunities exist for practitioners to become involved in future content development. Continuity is central to the work that we're doing, and the NSAs are built on the design of phase 1 to ensure that familiarity of operation, which is a key criterion for our stakeholders, exists within phase 2. While there may be some cosmetic changes to the platform, which in my opinion as a user of phase 1 is a big improvement on the phase 1 platform, the same core services will continue to be provided. So this includes, but it isn't limited to, wholly distinct assessments for both the MCNG and the SNSA. Inclusive, accessible, adaptive assessments for learners in P1, P4, P7 and S3. Familiarisation sections, which will allow children and young people to become familiar with the different question types and the approaches to answering them before they undertake the actual assessments. We still have the generation of individual, group diagnostic and group aggregate reports that provide diagnostic information based on assessment outcomes to support practitioners in planning next steps in learning and to inform their professional judgment on pupil progress. And there still remains a service desk, which is the first point of call for any inquiries or difficulties, inviting any queries in the medium of Gaelic by email in the first instance, and a direct telephone service in the English medium. If I could have the next slide, please, Maeve. So we have a number of enhancements within the phase 2 platform. Work has been underway over the summer to calibrate and standardise the MCNG assessments using outcome data from the public beta phase last term. This activity is currently being finalised so that for the first time the 2022-2023 MCNG assessments will be standardised, providing national norm information against which practitioners can consider their own learners' outcomes. Now, comparative data for each child and young person that has completed an assessment can be found within their requisite individual learner report. And for the first time in the MCNG, a long scale score will be provided that represents each learner's performance. In addition to this, each individual learner's report will also provide a visual representation that compares their overall achievement with other learners in their class, in their school, and nationally. And this data can be used diagnostically to consider progress and to plan next steps in learning. Now, practitioners who are familiar with the SNSA assessments will already be accustomed to scale scores. However, it's important to note that the scale scores for SNSA assessments are not comparable with outcomes from the MCNG, nor are they intended to be. This is reflected in the fact that the long scale scores for each assessment set are entirely distinct. The national norm will be based on MCNG data collected from all learners who sat the assessments during the public beta phase. So due to the number of assessments sat during public beta, there are 3 different states of standardization at present. All P7 assessments had sufficient presentations to arrive at firm calibrations. All the rest, bar S3 numeracy, had sufficient presentations to arrive at provisional calibrations. But this will be revisited next year with potential updates to reflect the greater number of assessments sat. And then S3 numeracy, which we've not yet been able to standardise at all due to the smallness of the cohort presented last session, but this will be revisited each year. Platform features. With both the SNSA and MCNG assessments being hosted on one platform, all users only have to become familiar with one system. So for practitioners who work in establishments that deliver both Gaelic and English medium education, the shared core features, which include assigning assessments, viewing learner details, and accessing reports, can all be accessed from the shared portal. For learners, in particular those in P7 and S3, who may undertake both MCNG and SNSA assessments, there's a common username and password, as well as shared functions and similar question styles. High-quality bespoke MCNG familiarisation activities have now been created to support learners at all stages become comfortable with the look and feel of the assessments. And for P1 learners, familiarisation activities in both literacy and numeracy will have an accompanying video with each in the owl, who will guide them through the exemplar questions. Highly skilled professional voiceover artists have also been used to provide the audio support options to ensure that the pace and tone of audio support is befitting of the age and stage of each assessment. User feedback. In spring this year, MCNG user trials took place in 9 schools representing a variety of educational settings in urban, rural and island communities across 7 local authorities. These trials were attended and supported by Gaelic Medium Education specialists from Education Scotland and from the Scottish Government. The activities during the trials comprised of classroom observations and teacher user groups and were designed to cover the end-to-end user experience, and they provided us with valuable insights into the operability of the system, the ease of use for learners, and accessibility. Feedback from the trials was largely positive, and the general narrative was that learners were enjoying the assessments and practitioners were finding them easy to use. It did also highlight some issues, in particular with logging in, with some practitioners reporting that the passwords are quite long and not all words are familiar or known to learners. So we aim to be responsive, and this was the purpose of the trials. And on the back of the feedback, enhancements were made in advance of the public beta launch, reducing the complexity of passwords, allowing practitioners to reset passwords to their own personal choice of words, and adding a show password function to the logging in process. Now, I've spoken about public beta. The MCNG was launched under a public beta banner during the 2021-2022 summer term, and the full set of assessment services including the generation of diagnostic information for learners, was made available to all MCNG users during May and June last session. So the public beta phase allowed us to continue to make improvements ahead of the formal launch of the combined platform. And we will continue to gather feedback from MCNG service users and from SNSA service users following formal launch to help us inform our continuous improvement plans. And could I have the next slide, please, Maeve? Thank you. So when we're considering ensuring best use of the platform, planning is crucial. The National Standardised Assessments for Scotland platform is intuitive and it is easy to use. But nevertheless, we advise that careful planning should take place before learners undertake assessments. In particular, it's important to give careful thought to the individual needs of your learners and consider the timing, setting, and administration of the assessments. Some learners may benefit from completing the assessment separately or as part of a small group. Learners are also entitled to receive the same support as they're accustomed to in the classroom. So for some, this may include one-to-one support or the use of practical materials or prompts. So good planning allows you to make sure that this is available for the learners when they need them. Please use the familiarisation section to strengthen learners' confidence with the functionality and navigation of the platform, as well as the prompt discussion of the various formats of the questions. Now, discussions of these features will help to make sure that learners understand how to approach different question formats. And you can also use the familiarisation section to show learners that they will be prompted if they try to move on without answering, and that there is no option of returning to a previous question once they've done so. A wide range of training will continue to be offered to support school and local authority staff to get the best out of the NSA platform. In the first instance, training and support will be available in the form of a written quick start guide, as well as written guidance on using the assessments with learners who require additional support with their learning. And both of these documents will be accessible via the help pages in the platform. A bespoke training offer will be made available to all local authorities later in this academic year. This includes the delivery of trainer-led, live, face-to-face and webinar sessions, as well as a core set of training materials for schools to use with their staff. And all training and associated materials will be available in both Gaelic and in English. So continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is something that we've come to know and expect when it comes to technology. When iPhones were first released in 2007, I don't think we could have foreseen that 15 years later we would have just witnessed the release of iPhone 14. I can still remember being a young teacher and pupils just starting to have iPhones in their classes, whereas now there's something which almost everybody has a smartphone. And then when it comes to technology, we're used to regular software updates. Now, I'm in no way comparing the National Standardised Assessments for Scotland to Apple, but what I am wanting to highlight is that any good product developer is always seeking ways to improve and refine their technology. So you can expect there to be regular updates to the assessment content, to the type of reports available, to the calibration of data, to the training that we will offer, as well as software updates to the system itself. Now, your involvement is central in helping us to shape and drive continuous improvement, and we're always looking for stakeholders, practitioners, learners, as well as parents and carers to support us on this journey, whether that's by providing us with feedback, becoming part of our content creation team, or joining one of our user assurance groups. Next slide, please. So if anyone is interested in becoming more involved, would like some further information, or simply has some questions about the MCNG or the National Standardised Assessments for Scotland in general, please do not hesitate to get in touch using the contact details on the slide. And thank you for your time this afternoon.
Many thanks, Leona. And we do have a few minutes left, and I will open up for any questions that anybody might have and wish to raise at the moment. No, there doesn't seem to be. I'll stop. Oh, yes. Maggie. Thank you, Gustai. In you come.
Sorry, believe me, yeah, I just wondered, is there, Leona, is there information available for parents on the system? Because we quite often get questions. I work for a parents organisation, and we quite often get questions from parents on the assessments because they can be quite concerning.
Absolutely. On the public NSA website, there is information for parents and for teachers that I think they're available, and that's available now.
Is that specific to Gaelic? Because before, when I've looked, I've only been able to find general information, nothing that will tell parents when their children will be assessed in Gaelic or English and how that follows through.
Maeve, maybe actually defer to you for purpose of help with that one.
Yes, of course, that kind of information, Maggie, wouldn't be on the website, because that would be a local school decision to be taken on when children would be undertaking the assessment, and it would be a decision taken by the school, the teacher, and possibly in conversation with parents, but not something that we would be prescriptive about in terms of identifying times for assessing children.
Sorry, Maeve. No, it was a wee bit more general than that. It was more, when do, you know, recently a parent got in touch with us because their child had been assessed in English for something, and they were concerned that, you know, it was too early for them to be assessed in English. It was just for that general information, you know, at P1, what language your assessment is in, and so on for the different assessments. I just wondered if there was kind of general information for parents in Gaelic medium, not overall information.
So the public facing website is certainly available in both Gaelic and in English to be accessed in either medium. For young people who receive Gaelic medium education, they would be expected to, at some point during P1 and P4, undertake the MCNG assessments. And then when they're in P7 and S3, they also have the opportunity they may take the SNSA assessments, or they may take the MCNG, and it depends on, again, a school level decision, and a decision which might be discussed with parents and carers.
Yeah, there certainly was information as to what stages and what assessments children in GME would be undertaking. And we will take that back, Maggie, and just make sure that information will be available again, just so that everybody's clear about when that happens.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be really useful. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.